All right, well, welcome back to the shop. First things first, yes, I did get new glasses. How observant of you. Second things second, I am back on a Kaos update, just a brief one this week. So what I want to go over is my engine stand. Let me turn you around and I'll show you what I'm talking about. So this is the engine stand that I've put together. It's a very basic, just sawhorse design. This is from Lowe's, and I've got a 6x6 beam, just mostly because I need weight, just to weigh things down. But I also put some brackets down on the bottom so that I can like put some tent stakes or just anchor it into the ground when I'm outside. And the whole idea was that I've got this modular plate where I can cut these pieces of ply and mount different engines in here. So it's not just for one specific engine. And I don't have to worry about this plate being all Swiss cheesy-o'd. So there's a number of things that's wrong with this, and I want to go over just a couple of those. First and foremost, the mount is just a mount that I had laying around and some screws that are mismatched. So I've got a new mount. This is a Dave Brown. It's these have been around forever, right? These pretty basic motor mount. I don't know if the Dubro mounts are going to work in the Kaos yet. I haven't built the fuselage. So I am using this one. I bought it just in case I have to use it, and it was only a couple of bucks anyway. And since it's a more simplistic design, particularly for this kind of use, I'm going to replace these and use this because this is going to be more secure in my opinion. Also, I want to change the height because we've got the throttle linkage here that goes through, and I'm using a push rod, and that kind of works, but the push rod kind of needs to be secured somehow so that like I can put it at partial throttle or even hold it at low throttle rather than completely choking it off. I mean, I could use the set screw to prevent that, but still, like while I'm tuning, I need to be able to make carburetor adjustments, and it's really difficult to hold that. So I need to get this elevated more and not necessarily passing through a drilled hole. Some sort of way to secure the throttle linkage so that I can set it and move on from there. So we're going to put you guys on the tripod and show you guys the process of changing things up a little bit. I'm really happy with that. Nice and strong and ready to rock. Before the top screws that I had been using before just didn't feel that secure, and yeah, it just wasn't great. So this fully secure, fully bolted in, took the time to actually cut the two bolts that I had that were extra long unnecessarily. So yeah, we should be set to run now. Now, the other thing that I have to do from running this is the prop that I had put on it initially, it's actually a little too small. I've got an 11.6 on this. Let me turn you around and I'll show you what I'm talking about. So 11.6. So this should be using either an 11.8 or a 12.6, which I have one, but it's a wood prop. Now, why is a wood prop not necessarily favorable? Okay, so wood props are typically lighter, and particularly with glow engines, you kind of want a heavier prop to help keep the momentum. It's like the gyroscopic effect, right? you're less likely to stall or have a dead stick on idle if you've got the additional help of the rotating mass, right? So that leads me to prop changes. So the 11.6 could be swapped out for a 12.6, but I have a 12.6 3 blade. This could work. It might actually, I'm convinced that this engine's never been run. So the 3 blade might actually work out just to put a little heavier load for really breaking this engine in once I actually get this stupid carburetor dialed in. So there's that. However, I do have an alternative. Being the hoarder that I am, I also have an 11.8. However, it's an 11.8 4 blade. Probably won't fly this on the model, although, I mean, that would be something. Anyway, this could work. This could work and not terribly overburden the engine, just because it is wood. I do have spare blades. These aren't the greatest. These old zingers, I mean, they work, but definitely nostalgia, but pretty cool. So yeah, this is an option too. However, I would like to have a spinner on this in order to start, because I really don't like the idea of my fingers being in there. Now, I'm also going to be using an onboard glow driver. So the glow driver helps to maintain a little bit of current, like 1.5 volts or less on the glow plug itself. Okay, otherwise you risk burning up the glow plug prematurely. Okay, and these things are friggin' expensive. It's like 12-15 bucks for one. So yeah, just gonna do that. Again, help prevent dead sticks. Also, don't necessarily have to worry about the in the thing and then getting your hand close to the prop arc. And I like my fingers. I want to keep building. So a little bit of extra precaution, not to mention it only costs like $5 or $7 for this little doodad off of Amazon. Anyway, cover that later. But that's what's going on here. Now let's talk about the throttle linkage. So the two different options that we've got are stick with the same old, which is just a metal rod, right? A metal rod with a clevis on the end. Okay, pretty straightforward stuff. But I can use like a paint stick or a piece of wood that's screwed into the side of the beam, where it's screwed in like here or over there, or where like I can move that. That's not a big deal. But like that beam can act more like a lever if it's screwed in tightly to the beam. So that is an option, but there is a simpler option that I want to try first. All right, so here's our simpler option. It's not elegant, but that's okay. It's just nylon push rod, all right? Very, very simple, okay? It comes up and over, but it's run through the Velcro for the fuel tank. And so what that does is provides just a little bit of tension where I can easily set the level, and it's not going to immediately jitter and bounce all over the place from the vibration of the engine. That's really all I need. And I'm okay trying this first before we make something more complicated than it needs to be, less flexible than it could be. And so I'm going to give it a whirl. So the next thing I'm going to do here is I'm going to button everything up. I'm going to try to take this outside and see how this push rod works. See if I can get this engine to fire up again. first test. So the base adjustments of the valve is good. I've got a good amount of smoke coming out of the exhaust, which I'm really happy about. The voltage regulator is working perfectly, so it's just a step-down buck converter. I've got oil all over my hand and my shirt now. It's just the nature of this game. So yeah, that works great for the glow driver. What I'm noticing though is I've got a lot of fuel leaking out of the front of the crankcase. I don't know if that's normal for this engine, so I've got some digging to do, because the fuel is just literally slinging off of the back of the propeller. I can see it, but it's clearly pulling this prop just fine. But I am going to pick up a lot of RPM and power by going to a two-blade prop. So let me try that and see how scary it is. Okay, so I know what happened. It's been really fast, obviously. I think that's goes without saying. What you didn't or may have seen, but I saw pretty close hand. So I'm just using a simple prop nut, like a spinner style nut. And what happened is that there's enough kickback on the engine that it actually spun and loosened that prop nut. So what I need to do is I need to go to the hardware store and get a proper sized actual nut, because this isn't going to fit under my spinner anyway. And that way I can actually do a jam nut. A jam nut is absolutely going to be essential for this, clearly. So that's it. That's some good testing. I've got it all basically running, and I'm glad I could share this with you guys. Let me put this all away and we'll sum up inside. Now, I gotta be straightforward with you guys. I didn't go over the buck converter before. It's just a voltage regulator. I'm using one of my 3S2200 packs, and it steps it down to 1.5 volts, because you only need 1.5 volts to drive the glow plug, all right? I do have one of the things that goes on the head, but I like my fingers, and that's one less thing that I have to worry about, having my fingers close to the prop blade. So that is why I do that. You can pick those up at Dubro. So let me flip you around real quick and I'll give you a quick update on the Kaos. The Kaos is coming along. The fuselage is nearing completion. We're to the point where we are fitting tail, and it's really been a pretty fun build. It doesn't take that long. Like, it looks like it would be complicated, but it's really not. That's what I love about these old school Model Works planes, is they are quite easy. I am going to go over some of the seams and stuff on this with some spackle, some lightweight spackle, just to fill in the gaps, make sure everything is super clean and smooth before I start doing all my final sanding, and that'll be great. In addition to this, I have the wing ready to go. I still need to do shaping on the leading edge and the tips, and I need to get the ailerons installed as well. Let's see, we've got elevators and rudder. So yeah, plenty of things left to do on the build. We're getting to a good point where I can start maybe doing some covering, but not quite yet. I want to make sure that the bulk, the vast majority of the build is complete. So I don't want to beat the dead horse too much, but it has been a pleasure putting this little video together for you guys. I know I've had to do this over a couple of days. Life's been a little bit complicated lately. We had a loss in the family. It's okay. But want to make sure that I get something out to you guys and let you know that working in the shop is a great stress relief. When you have pressures in life, it's a wonderful thing to have some time, even if it's just a few minutes here or there, and put something together in the shop. A little distraction, keep your mind sharp, and that way you can go back to your life and focus on the priorities of what has to get done. for other people. So with that, just a quick reminder, head on over to dubro.com and get all of the hardware that you need for your models, and use code Josh10 at checkout. Get yourself a little 10% off. And until next time, guys, keep working on those flying works of art.